No, I ended up not making any of the posters from yesterday, but I was racing to get a couple of the design fictions done because
Nice.
I missed Wednesday, so I did the.
Oh no.
I know, but you know what? I woke up first thing Thursday morning, and well, not first thing. I had to do some other things, but yeah, I cranked out one, and it was Green Pages related, and then Thomas literally just emailed me 5 minutes after posting it saying, "Hey, listen, while you're thinking about Green Pages, here's a list of things I want you to do." Which I was
Yeah.
super happy to be like, yes, I'm totally going to do that. And then I cranked out another one, which I love this idea of. I read this article about how NASA is looking to generate oxygen and water from the moon, which makes sense. They want to create their own resources, and so my brain went to the idea of like, well, if all of the major water companies are already taken over the freshwater supplies on the world, of course they're going to want to go to the moon. So I started coming up with this idea of moon water. So the same way that we like fly in Fiji mountain water from islands, which we don't. I think it's just tap water from a street called Fiji Avenue somewhere. It makes no economic sense to fly water, but yeah, why not? Why not just bring a bunch of water from the moon? I'd drink some water from the moon to your mouth.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you drink it from like Iceland and Italy.
Yeah. And I renamed all the Great Lakes after the branded names. Like once all the freshwater supply is owned by Nestle and Liquid Death, who I'm predicting is going to be the biggest water company in the world. They're just going to.
How they even is it just like incredibly astute marketing folks?
Ish. An ex executive from somewhere. I don't know if it's another beverage company or like someone like Apple or something like that, but it's like an ex. But yeah, it's like an ex executive from some company just had this idea for Liquid Death, and it started as a joke, and it went out of control. And I don't know if you've seen this album that they released. It's called Greatest Hates. But if you go to Spotify, look up Liquid Death Greatest Hates. They made an album, 10 songs that are written all from like hate comments on their website.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's clever.
It's clever, and it's the one song that I heard was really well produced. It was like Mormons cursing Satan and who thought of this idea of Liquid Death, and the video's kind of good, and the song is super catchy.
Check. Hey everyone, welcome Fiona.
Hi Fiona.
Hello. Hi everyone. Very excited. I'm peeking in, total newbie, and curious to learn more. What's happening here?
Fiona and I met at that Princeton Neuroscience Futures thing that I did a couple weeks ago or whatever. And yeah, so I was like, you gotta come in and meet the gang.
Welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm happy to. So I'm a design strategist, creative strategist. I spent many years at consultancies, agencies, WPP, innovation consultancies, creative consultancies, trend forecasting. This is actually where my appetite for future work really started a couple years back. Then I spent some time at J&J's in-house design group that was dissolved as part of a large restructure. So now I'm independent and kind of really giving myself a moment to connect back with everything that gives me joy, which is Julian and I talked yesterday about the power of creativity and how that's really subdued often, particularly in business right now, where everything else is taking precedence. So yes, so I'm, really a strategist. I'm a visual thinker, not a technical designer by nature, but dabbling in, of course, everything that's now Mid-Journey and so forth. I'm very curious about this fashion project. So that's where I think I want to particularly put some interest in. And interestingly that you're talking about water, because a friend of mine just talked about a water idea, product innovation idea. And I said, well, you need to look at Liquid Death, because that's basically a nutty lifestyle brand with no product differentiation. So it's funny that you guys just talked about that.
Yeah, totally. I think I think I mentioned, so Dre does does the Design Fiction Daily is his well, amongst probably about 7,487 other things. That's his daily drills, designfictiondaily.com.
Yeah, it's my daily hot yoga kettlebell routine for creativity.
Yeah.
I think I signed up for you send out an email, right? Yeah,
I sent an email. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Nice to meet.
Yeah, so the fashion magazine project. So Drew is the showrunner for that, and unfortunately he's usually able to get out of things, but there's some work thing that happens via this time that he's not able to get out of. So he hasn't been here for a few or 4 weeks, but I can try my best to kind of describe the project. And there are two magazine from the future projects going on. Thomas, in my window, he's right there, is a showrunner along with Florian for the magazine from the future of, basically Hollywood. So like if Variety magazine or something like that did a in the future, we went to that future, and Thomas was like, hey, check this out, and he grabbed a magazine off the rack, and I was like, perfect. We jumped back in the time machine and came back. So that's what we're producing for kind of entertainment, I guess. I don't know, how do we describe it? Like future of Hollywood or future of, I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, it's probably simple enough to make it over the
yeah. I've been like saying media and entertainment sometimes because I feel like, I don't know, it sounds kind of cool, but
I feel you know what, I was thinking about this when I did decentral casting thing, and that Hollywood it's becoming decentralized. Like there's no more Hollywood, just as like Hollywood is still maybe the hub, but I think filmmaking is going to happen a whole lot of different places outside that. So it'd be worth.
I mean, it already is, right? To a large extent. Yeah.
Like, is Hollywood now not really considered the physical place, but is like in the future, is it considered like a term? It's a term that describes the decentralized
Kleenex, Xerox.
Yeah.
It's become generic. Yeah.
Kind of what we're getting at. It's sort of like already is that in a way.
Hey, can you pass me a Hollywood? That's actually we Thomas, we should add that to the list of things to try to figure out how to kind of represent it. Maybe it's one of those third read kinds of things where, like in a classified ad, hey, doing a Hollywood this weekend, need a couple of actors.
Just noun it.
Think of when people used to, when I watch movies, I like to say, like, I'm watching my stories. Leave me alone, I'm watching my stories.
That's what my aunts used to say. They're from the South. It'd be like, my stories are on. I was like, what are you talking about? They're watching General Hospital or whatever. So the same thing is happening for the future of what's it called? Like fashion. Even to the point, I think we talked about this, even to the point of like trying to find the way to think through really hard about what fashion might even mean. So the idea, I mean, isn't to do a magazine filled with like silver lame kind of space pants and people walking down runways with astronaut helmets on, but really think, imagine harder, as I like to say, what that could be. But so Drew is the showrunner for that, and what I can do is basically and he's I'm excited to finish the Hollywood one and get these 3 books like kind of out and going, so that I can spend more time on that one, because he does need help. Not that he's desperate for it, but I think like a little bit more kind of good vibes and energy will it'd be great. I mean, he did so much work to create the flat plan for it, just kind of laying it out. And he basically sat there with like a Vogue and just like went page by page, like, let's start with this in terms of the kind of content. I remember we were on a call and he's like, okay, page 60, we're done with the ads. Because those things are just like
By
the first
design.
third.
Well, especially the September issue, right? That's what I was going to ask. Like, was this a spring issue or fall issue? Because you got about like a 30 to 45% more growth between them in terms of pages due to the advertising.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that project. So I can we'll just make that connection, and
Yeah, that's awesome.
you
Love
guys
to.
can find a time to chit chat.
Yeah.
Super. I was excited and bummed when he got a job, 'cause I was like, but he's doing the good work over at Arab to
Oh,
kind of sort of pill them on the design fiction thing.
oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
David, it's been a minute since I feel like I've seen you. Any updates, or are you just listening today?
Hey, it's been too long. I am back from being in Ireland for a month. So I'm jet laggedly commuting into the office this morning for the first time in 4 weeks, trying to remember what the hell it is I do. So I'm about to get into BART. So I'm expecting everything to go to hell once I do that. But in the meantime, I'm really enjoying listening to everybody. I think I didn't get as much done on the book while I was off, because it turned out that that trip was more hectic than I was expecting. I think we visited like 8 places in 4 weeks. But it's looking real good. I'll let Dre update, but he's gotten a friend in to help do some of the writing, which is excellent. And looked like it was really going in a good direction. And I think one of the things made me kind of write out like why I think I was doing it. And that went from being like, I just bang out a paragraph to being like a small essay. But I'm kind of happy that it provoked that and just to get it out in place. I think that's all the updates I have. I really want to get it in time for the LA book fair. I have a pipe dream of like going down to LA for that. So like that's kind of like my ambition with that.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, David. Yeah, I missed you.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. In a beautiful way, not in a way of like just being snarky
Where
kind
the
of.
fuck is that guy?
Maybe just briefly, because you mentioned the LA Art Book Fair. So we didn't get in, which is stupid.
Oh damn.
but that's okay, because I've been like talking to Jed, who's here in LA. Maybe not enough. I need to talk to him more. It was like, I don't know. I just got really excited about. I sort of mentioned this to you peripherally, Dre, about building an electric bike stall kind of cart or something like that. That would be like a and just go down there. Just kind of go down there, like get vinyl wrap it with the covers of all our books, and like the little bells that are on the ice cream carts, and just have fun. Not in the kind of like, FU LA Art Book Fair judging committee or whatever, but just like, because it's such a vibrant vibe, thing down there. And probably get chased off by someone, but that would be fun. I don't know. I just, for some reason, I pictured that, partly because for my plan G has always been to learn how to make Italian ice and then just get a little cart and just be like the Italian ice guy. So that's kind of where I've just been imagining doing that. I think it would just be and sell the books. Sell the books. So we've got the manual, the Android's Dream book is all these books are in now. I'm just talking to logistics people about getting them to the warehouses. So like this one is in the Julian's next book, and you guys know about this one, which has the 2 secret dust jacket covers, and this one. The TBD catalog, and the Android book, which isn't right here. So it's like we got books.
I was watching a FedEx cargo bike delivery box thing, and I saw 2 different kinds riding around Toronto that I had never really seen before. So I put I pasted a link to like Bing Images. I like what they're doing. They've got a whole variety of weird little cargo, utilitarian cargo bikes with boxes, and they're reminiscent of like the ice cream bicycle machine from when I was a kid. And some of them look like you could live in them, like they're like a perfect little tiny house. And they're like a submarine, or a submersible, but on land.
Fiona, and I'm not sure if we've met Taryn, but that last book that Ray and David are working on is the ABC Solar Punk book. So it's the idea of a very small child's book of a future in which solar punk has taken hold, and a general sort of primer for small children to have the basic lexicon of it. So making use of, I believe, is it Midjourney images? And
yeah, we did most of it in Midjourney. Yeah.
And short descriptions of all of these things that should be part of an inevitable, a future where solar punk has been inevitable and successfully taken hold. So it's not sort of aspirational. It's not presented from an aspirational perspective, but from one where it had to happen and did.
Right.
So.
That's the TBD titled one, or which one?
No, that's a different book. The TBD catalog is a follow-up to something Julian had done many years ago. No, this one it's called the ABCs of Solar Punk. So myself and David, who's in here, we're the showrunners on that one.
Okay.
And we laid out a book very similar to like a kid's book, going through each letter of the alphabet, and each letter represents a solar punk concept, some of which are already kind of solar punk, and some of which are things that we believe should be solar punk, and some of them are things we just invented that we're like, yeah, this is like, we're just going to invent a new word today because we're in this world. And the idea of the book is it's kind of like a children's book in disguise. It's much higher reading level than what you would normally give a kid. But I always like to say that if a kid can say velociraptor, they can also say biomimicry. So let's not dumb it down too much, but we want it to be valuable enough that an adult would want to buy it, appreciate the art, and appreciate and it'd be learning for an adult. I mean, it was a learning experience for all of us working on it as we dove into it and discovered new words and figured stuff out. So yeah, right now
that's something we'll definitely, when we do the the podcast or the show or whatever.
Alexa, stop.
When we do the podcast or whatever, we should talk about that stuff. Like we didn't know what we were doing to start. We learned while we were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we imagined harder, and we learned harder too. Yeah, exactly. but yeah, just to put a bow on it, or to give you an update as to where we're at now, the illustrations are all pretty much done. There might be something we want to tweak, but every time Midjourney does an upgrade, David and I have this feeling of like, oh, let's re-render this, let's re-roll the dice on this prompt, and all of a sudden it looks better. And it's like, oh, we got to do it the whole book again. So I think we've decided to stop with the rendering. We're in the writing process right now. I've got an editor going through it right now, and she should be getting close to the end. She was slated to finish all the letters by the end of the month. So we have this master document that is going to be just so much more was better written than what we did. David and I did. We did a good job in writing it, but I think that she's crossing the T's and dotting the I's and catching repetition and just doing all the great stuff that editors do to make it beautiful and coherent. She's got 2 kids that are in the age range that I would imagine would be reading this as well. So yeah, Susan Hung is her name. So she's a writer I've worked with for years and years and years. So I'm really happy for her to volunteer some time to put this together.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
that's really
so
awesome.
she's great. She's got, we're gonna credit her as an editor on the book. She's done a lot of work on it. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I'm going to probably do a quick pass at what she's done later today. I'm sure David as well, because both of us have access to the doc. And now that David is back, I think we'll make a concerted effort to wrap this up so we can send Julian another box of books to send to his 3PL.
I'm gonna have him send them directly.
Okay.
But to that point, like practically speaking, so we can have them arrange, or you can find like a freight forwarder in your neck of the woods or all that stuff. We can talk about that.
Or you can just come to my house.
You with my truck.
I'll just keep a box in the back of my truck.
With your e-bike.
Yeah.
right,
What do you
e-bike.
mean your truck?
Yeah. What's the bicycle distance between Los Angeles and Toronto? Probably
Close enough if you got an e-bike and an Amida.
16 weeks. I'll see you.
How are you distributing, besides, I'm sure, like e-commerce, but you talked about the bicycles or the, FedEx things. I'm in Brooklyn, actually, so I don't know if anyone's kind of on my side of it. I mean, Toronto's on my side, but a little bit higher up. Is there any kind of thoughts on that, and how the books will go out in kind of like a, event type of way or grassroots?
So right now it's all, so it's 99.9% just sending, the usual kind of thing. You order it, and then I'm literally like emailing with Rachel in logistics in South Carolina. She's like, what about this order and this one? So that routine from 2 places. One is in South Carolina, so that handles like basically I think it's been like high 40% of our audience is in the US, and then almost about the same is roughly Europe, broadly considered, that continent, and then a small percentage rest of world, as they say, Australia, New Zealand, like a handful in China, and then another handful in Japan, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's pretty much how it happens. But then they're also super bespoke, is and it always happens organically, where they're like a couple of bookshops, and it's always like we have like a relationship with them, or like Camille, that shop we went to, Skylight in Los Feliz, they want more of the manuals, like they sold out super quick. And then there's another.
Good. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah. I went there. Those shows where it's like the CEO undercover. So I went in there and I was like, I was looking around. I was like trying to look for it. I was like, my heart was kind of beating, like, please don't be here. Please don't be here. And I didn't see it, but I was like, the place is chaotic, so there could be someplace. And I went to the counter. I was like, you guys happen to have this book, the manual, some design fiction, something like that? And the oh, I'm sorry, we're sold out. It's like, damn.
I make requests to the library to get the book. Like, oh, you don't have this. You should buy it.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah.
need it for my studies.
And I guess that's the other one. So the library at the Royal College has it, and a couple other places like that.
Mhm.
And then there'll be like an intermediary who buys books on the behalf of institutions who there are a couple of those they'll ping, and they'll say like, hey, your book's sold out, what's going on with you guys? And so they facilitate those kinds of things.
Cool.
And then there's like a little bookshop in called More Matter in Denver, and they're kind of like, we're all fellow travelers, so it's a design studio with a bookshop.
Mhm.
They're like, love your stuff, but that's entirely organic. So
Okay.
don't kind of necessarily. And then we haven't done the kind of like festival thing because you're joining at the like the ascendance of
All
the empire of creativity, the empire of the defenders of the creative consciousness.
Right.
And so that's sort of happening. But I would love to literally, like, I'm gonna ping to the city here in LA to see if my seller's permit, which you have to have, is like, does that cover like going to, having a street stall or doing something at a at a farmer's market kind of thing? Because
Mhm.
I would love to do that kind of stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, it's just be the wacky guy.
Right.
Would you
Like, what do you
need that
mean? What
even
do you
if you
mean?
wanted,
It's like, here's like the stand would be like, time machine.
like if you wanted to have a lemonade stand outside of your house, would you need this permit?
Probably technically you probably would. I don't think people
Probably if
do.
you're above 18.
Like above 18 inches?
Yeah, 18-ounce lemonades, or what are we talking about here?
Like, yes, no venties.
Like, I'm sure like the Venice Beach Boardwalk, which is an absolute dumpster fire of like weirdness, is I'm sure they have to have vendors permits because they that gets policed just because it's so janky and weird.
It's also such a nice way for the city to make money. I mean, New York City is definitely heavy on permits on lemonade stands. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
You
the
could
other
always-
thing, sorry, go ahead, Dry.
I was gonna say you could sell it at like Lafayette and Canal, like just do the Chinatown special, the little mobile cart full of design fiction books, and then when the police come, you just cover it up and
Yeah.
race
I
for the
remember those times in New York. I mean, I think it was Giuliani who just basically brought the hammer down on it. But the Giuliani, Jesus, but it was great to just watch the dynamic. Like if you just kind of sit, you just being the kind of observation person. This is fascinating, like a Nicholas Nova way of looking at the world, and you just sort of watch, and it'd be like maybe 2 blocks of people selling umbrellas and whatever, and then if be one guy would be like, and he'd like give a whistle, and everyone and it would just disappear. As like the kind of cops came down twirling the baton on the beat or whatever, and they'd be like, all clear, and they would just set back up again.
Another thing, not to maybe derail, but New York has the New York City and Design Festival every year, right? And there's all these events and spaces. It could also be fun to just almost like drop a book in each of the places. There's all these like architectural places. Could just be a coffee table book that people kind of pick up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it is, but I love the idea actually that you said the defenders of creative consciousness. There's something there, I think.
Yeah, that was so. This book, so there was most people here will remember him like Jean Pablo. Remember Jean Pablo? Yeah. So now just got into this rhythm now, quite accidentally. It started with the manual of like dedicating each thing to. So we dedicated the manual to my friend Sasha. So this one got dedicated to Jean Pablo, and I made him into like a superhero. It's a superhero movie from the future. And yeah, so sent some copies to to his widow.
What would be your dream festival to get into?
It would be my festival, and it would be like the Coachella of creativity. That's what it would be.
My
Yeah.
friend is the co-producer over at the Sun Valley Book Festival, which is happening in like 3 weeks, but definitely something for next year.
Yeah.
It's a really cool community, and they have some amazing indie bookstores in the Valley in Idaho.
Yeah. It's kind of, I was definitely bummed. I mean, it was, I don't bum easily, but I was definitely bummed with the LA art book thing, because I was like, man, I want you, how could you guys not feel our vibe to say, hey, yeah, you got to be there, and you're LA, and look at these weird books. And so it was, you know, it was definitely it was like, I wanted that kind of confirmation. Yeah, we're on the path. And I'm also kind of like, well, fuck you, you don't see it, that's cool. Not fuck you in a mean way. I'm not looking for vengeance. I'm not going to go there and pull the fire alarm and blow air horns and throw flour on everyone or something wacky. But it felt like I felt like it feels like our people in a way.
I've spoken to quite a few people inside Apple who have manual of design fiction. If you want to come and chat at the design, we specifically have a design book club. If you're interested in coming along to that, I think we've actually had a couple offers come and talk. Awesome.
Yeah, easy peasy. Definitely. Shake shit up.
I was
That'd be
wondering
awesome.
about other of those sort of creative type events. That's why I posted about one a few weeks ago in our events channel, which is very exciting to have. But it's like this like festival in the forest with like creative leaders. I can't catch the vibe of what it is. I'm like, is this trying to be like a festival? Is this just an excuse to meet your friends?
Reminded me of Rainbow Gathering. Yeah, it was a little bit kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, the vibe I felt was like something magical happens when we get a bunch of people together, as opposed to like, hey, come here to learn how to, you know, optimize your Facebook ads. Marketing leaders will be presenting.
Yeah, which I like and is an interesting vibe, but like, you know, the Rainbow Gathering community is, you know, not going to pay to go to this type of conference, but there's, you know, like an expectation of payment to see speakers and stuff, right? So is that kind of weird, like, when is it worth it versus when is it not worth it? When you look at those types of events, just like as like either attendees or, you know, someone who's been, you know, invited to speak or teach or whatever, right? Like, what are the qualifiers for that? Is it ever worth it? Maybe is the real question. Because they're pitching it as navigating the future of creativity. So obviously thinking about, you know, future and creativity together makes me think of us. But yeah, this was an advertisement that came to me. So why am I being targeted? / I know why, but why isn't anyone else from the group being targeted?
Do you have a link?
Yeah, what is the name of it?
Yeah, I'll post it in the Zoom chat. It's also in the exhibitions and events channel.
Okay, cool.
But sorry, yeah, I realized I didn't intro that link very well. Yeah, Thomas, you do need glasses. This is a glasses gang meeting only. You didn't get the memo? Bruh.
0.8 represent. Astigmatism representing.
I have the
Yeah.
new glasses.
4 Eyes Club, yo.
I have the Invisalign of glasses.
Remember 4 Eyes? I just remember that. People get teased like 4 Eyes, eat 4 Eyes. Like, like oh wow, that hurts. It's like shut up. You're 4 Eyes.
This is expensive, this festival.
What's the
Wait,
what's the figure?
Yeah.
It's like $150 per event.
Per event. What does that mean? What's the breakdown of an event? Like a session or something?
Yeah, like an hour and a half with.
I
I
think
don't
it's
know.
like
Maybe
14.
maybe
I think it's like, I think it's 1,400 for the whole thing.
Holy sh!
Because we've had conversations
That's like
about
more than
doing some type
Coachella.
of retreat gathering type thing, with a near future lab spin. So I'm kind of looking at this as the potential market competitor. What are they charging? Who are the people coming to speak? Seems like a lot of design strategists and then graphic design people,
Yeah.
I haven't heard of any of these people.
right? Like, that's why I was just like, what? Like, why are you marketing this at me? But like,
I mean-
oh, you camp in the woods and it's like a festival.
Dress for the job you want. That's one of the names of the session.
I mean, probably they're probably spot on. Probably spot
Yeah,
on.
this looks like a graphic design, UX centric thing. It's all very tactical.
They're a brand design
Executional
and creative agency. Yeah. Oh, it's like put on by. Yeah, it's put on by an agency.
Yeah, that's why like it feels like astroturfing in a big way.
Yeah, it's going to be the agency, all of their suppliers looking to woo potential clients who get comp tickets.
Well,
Like
Liquid Death is one of their
mushrooms and-
sponsors, so it's just circling us back.
Exactly. Here's a bag of mushrooms. Let's go watch some talks.
They have a link at the bottom for convince your boss. So it's all expected to be paid for on corporate.
Okay, that's how they make money. I see now. Thank you for that, Brandel.
Yeah, well, what happens is that every company has like HR has like a corporate education fund where every employee gets to like use $300 or $700 a year on like and nobody ever uses it.
Last I checked, Bay Area, it's $5,000.
Is it $5,000?
What
Yeah,
the
well, it's the Bay
fuck,
Area.
Brandel? It was not
I'm sorry.
$5,000 when I was in the Bay Area.
Well, I can send you some job listings.
Wait.
Yeah, it's
I don't know
Brandel's
what to tell
fault.
you.
Wow. Oof, that's cold. That's cold.
Brandel's fault. Stop that. With your $5,000.
So what do you
Stop
you
it.
spent your $5,000 on, Brandel? Really impress us.
I actually haven't spent it much of the time. I do the sort of the just freebie online courses. I did go to London last year for the future of hypertext, and that was fun for me. I don't know that I'll do it this year, but I am gonna go to. But that's actually not training. I'm gonna go to the World Wide Web Consortium in Seville in September, and then to London just to be able to hang out with my teammates and make sure that I understand what team spirit looks like.
And along the way, Brandel, the only thing though, just as a friendly request, like proselytize the fuck out of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I have the first edition manual of design fiction on my desk, and I've got the TBD catalog and the other stuff there. I've been infiltrating a number of places in order to make sure that people understand that what kind of shipwrecks we're inventing as we're building Vision Pro.
And then you also quite seriously, like I think you should have the ability to invite people if you
cool.
if you want to
Yeah.
if you want to be like, hey, I think you're a special person. I don't normally do this. I don't do this for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you an invitation.
Cool. I think I mentioned that I did that talk a couple of weeks ago. It's actually done the rounds like on our internal sort of YouTube thing of like it was called "What's a Human?" and a design as an exercise and applied cognitive science. And like this was before Vision Pro was announced, and some guy in like radio technology engineering was like, hey, this is really interesting. I wonder if it means that you could use virtual reality to navigate the 10-dimensional latent space of antenna technology. And I was like, yes, that is what I meant. Thank you. I didn't know that anyone was going to notice. So I'll send him an invite, certainly.
Isn't LoRa the protocol for that? Isn't it called LoRa? Like packet sending over radio?
That's quite possible. He's actually talking about the irradiance of the antenna as a magnetic electric field stuff, which I have no idea about, but I'm happy.
Sounds
to
more
play
magical.
and get my sticky fingers into it. Right? No, it's a weird thing, and apparently some people understand it. So for that, I'm very thankful for. But if VR can help with that, then it's all go.
I'm curious if any of you, and hi, I'm Taryn. I know I don't know very many of you. Thanks for
Taryn
that.
and I are going to have coffee in like 6 hours.
We are. If any of you were at the Hollywood Climate Summit last week, it was very interesting, sort of systems focused event. That was like their third year of doing it, but it was like this intersection of climate and social justice activists along with Hollywood creators, and it was pretty fascinating. So the panels are all online, and sort of was looking both at sort of content as a nexus for change through storytelling, as well as how can we create more green productions and sustainable sets. So for anyone in the business, I think it's really it was really inspiring.
I'd love to hear more about that. I was going to message you because I was reading through your Google Doc in the Green Pages channel, and I think that's sort of something we've been like hinting at in Green Pages, but we haven't like it would be fun to kind of like project that out further and kind of explore that. We have a big section, like I don't know, we've been like messing around with, I don't know, like the idea that the film industry is like somehow regulated by the EPA, and that like the ability for whatever you're making to be distributed is affected by like certain scores, sort of like when you get checked up on by SAG or something, but in the same way that SAG is regulating sets and like how you're treating actors, the EPA would be kind of like regulating sets, and you have to like send them a certain score or like send them your practices, and then they'll score your film accordingly, and then based on that score, the success of your film is then affected. But it would be cool to tie that more directly to like some of the things that you learned about last week.
Do you think so since I've been doing a bunch of diving in terms of the history of the rating agency and the MPA and stuff, like would Hollywood create its own internal agency to sort of manage that so they don't fall afoul versus having it be like an external enforcement, like the way that like because of decency laws and how they're kind of uneven across different regions and stuff, they came up with a set of guidelines basically to use.
Well, the
like
PGA has a pretty robust green production department now that they're rolling out sort of across the union. So there's a coalition between the unions for sustainability. And like as a director or as an actor, I could choose to have a green rider with my contract that could stipulate sort of my green sort of set demands. So, and then you have these sort of like this new burgeoning sort of sub industry, like what's it called? Set Angels, I think. And they are like, sustainable entity that comes on kind of like the COVID, the COVID regulations that we had on set. So they come on and they sort of set the standards of what kind of standards you want for sustainability. And they, are consultants basically, and then on set coordinators. So it's sort of an edge industry.
If you like wait long enough in the credits, every now and then you'll see like a green PA or environmental PA. I was working on a film and there was like a green PA, but all they really did was like order everyone water bottles and
Yep.
and like make sure you were putting it was actually a terrible job. Like he was just sitting next to the trash or the waste and like telling people like that's recycling, that's compost. I felt pretty bad for him. But well, I don't know. It's like a curious thing, but I'm excited to see how it plays out. And I definitely could see it being like an internal agency. I think that the film industry in general would rather not have the EPA be regulating them. Especially since it sounds like they're already making real efforts within like the guilds and stuff.
There's actually a new offshoot of the UN called ECHA. Forget what the acronym is for. I can send you guys information on it because it's just going public, but it's basically this, it's actually it's complicated to get into, but it's going to be sort of this accord that you sign as some sort of, you don't have to be just in entertainment, it can be entertainment or culture. And there are sort of certain pillars of activism that you have to show as a company to be sort of under this accord. So it's very international as well. There were like 300 sort of international entertainment culture people on the call yesterday. It was interesting. So I'll send the link to they're just starting to go public.
Cool.
I'm not describing it very well. I haven't had my breakfast.
I have to jump soon, but I just wanted to like, if you haven't watched the Green Pages update, it seemed sort of July is hopefully the time where everyone is we're like getting pretty close to having all the content finished. So by the end of July, so I know Camille, Taryn, Trey, you guys all have stuff kind of cooking. So today I'm gonna like kind of further the layout a bit to give everyone an idea of how many words they're being asked to do, and then if that's like seems kind of out of the realm of possibility, or if you'd like to do more, then we can talk about that and kind of mess with the layout accordingly. That's not a problem. But yeah, I think it's coming together, and hopefully by July we'll have like a very fine edit of the whole thing. We're also starting to talk to printers right now and getting quotes, which is exciting. And hopefully this thing will, like, you know, in the news, like in the movies when the newspapers are like going through and it's all dramatic, like hopefully we'll have that moment by the end of the summer. But thank you everyone for participating and stuff. It's really fun. And if anyone has any more ideas, I've set like this deadline for this Sunday for just like super rough proposals, and we'll find space in the magazine for it. But yeah, like just jump in the Discord. We have meetings every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. And yeah, things are moving. So thank you.
Thomas, just to say, so I'm around this weekend. So if you want to, you know, I'll just be back here working. And then there were a couple questions that Ken the printer had that I just responded to him last night, and he said he'll get us a range of quotes this coming week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. I have some questions about business stuff. I don't know. Cool. All right. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Thomas. See ya.
Hey, Jed, saw you sneak into the chat.
Jed might be in his car.
Oh, right. LA, everyone's
Yeah.
in their car. That's the assumption,
Yeah.
right?
I am in the car for a little bit longer. Hard to talk. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty all right. I'm actually visiting New York right now.
Oh, yeah, you've been there a little bit, huh?
Yes.
How much longer are you going to be there? You're there for the summer, yeah?
July 5, not the whole
Okay.
summer, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a taste. Make me miss LA.
Is it all smoked out there?
Air quality's mixed. It wasn't great yesterday, and today is a little meh, but it's not terrible. But I've been connecting with some people who build more physical things, sort of, and have different methods of manufacturing within that scope. I did like a mini factory tour a few days ago with the Woosh design, WOOJ, and he designs and 3D prints and assembles lamps all in Brooklyn. So just talk to him a little bit about, what does sort of distributed object making look like in terms of the scope in which he's doing it, etc. So I want us to do more physical things.
Yeah, totally. Did you get a chance to meet with Parsons and Charlesworth?
Yeah, I saw Tim and Jess. We had a
Cool.
lovely chat. So I'm gonna see them when they're in the Bay Area. So I'll send the details to you, Brandel, and David. I'll post it in like the Bay Area thread on the Discord, because they have a residency at the Marin Headland Center for the Arts. So they're doing like studio visit and stuff. So it'd be cool to check out their practice. So I'll post that
I would
there.
love to do that, and also to catch up with more Bay Area people again sometime. I had meant to do that, but I had some things on. But yeah, anybody who wants to pile into another hangout would be really lovely. But to go and get to see something would be also a great reason to get around. Are you coming back this way sometime?
Yeah, I'm gonna be back for that weekend to connect with my folks and to get some dental work done, because I haven't found a dentist I like in Los Angeles.
Dr. Sam, but he's way over here.
Yeah.
Dr. Sam's
It's
great.
like I may as well, do I want to
Yeah.
drive 2 hours in traffic or drive like an easy 5 hours of the 5, right?
He's great. He's also like a business consultant. Like two for the price of one, kind of.
Wait, so as he's doing your teeth, you can ask him business consulting worthy questions?
It's usually before he starts crawling around in your mouth.
You're not just like, yeah, well, ROI is.
How are things going? He's not asking you about like, how are your teeth? He's kind of like, what's your, hey, your margins.
Well, you know how there's like the stripper economic index, right? Like, is there a dentist economic index? I don't know if you've heard this term, but apparently, a stripper predicted the 2008 crash because she said, like she stopped seeing like a lot of customers and stuff, since like entertainment services are some of the first things that get cut as we head into recession. So
check.
Is there a dental equivalent? I don't know.
My family, we all book our sort of dentist spot all together so we can hang out and just be an adorable little family. But it means that I hang out at the dentist for a protracted period of time while I'm waiting for my daughter and stuff. And one of the things that's weird, that's always surprising, is just the like, we don't have to get work done because our, again, nice jobs in Silicon Valley give us enough dental coverage for routine checkups and monitoring and stuff like that. But the things that you hear from the next room over are terrifying. Just like, well, that one's cracked and we're not going to be able to save it, and this is like This is the like literally across the street from where Vision Pro is being produced, and so it's like this is not a like a rough part of town, but it's just like, oh my god, what is happening inside people's mouths? So I think so. In terms of like there's the slacking period people talk about in computer purchases, like 3 years typically is the 2 to 3 years and things. But the slacking period for a sort of delay between when people they discover something has gone wrong inside their face and when they try to get it worked out. I think there would be some pretty interesting economic indicators there. But given the sort of the powers of intellectual creativity that my dentist seems to have, I don't know that he's going to be able to help find those. I tried to suggest that he could show people what brushing is, because everybody talks about brushing their teeth, but there's a wild variance in how people actually do brushing and how hard to push and where to go and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, I think people know. It's like, nah, I think your business would beg to differ, man, but whatever. So maybe your LA friend would be a better position to be able to kind of generate the synthetic index out of the sort of the rogues gallery of sort of oral injuries that people are suffering over time. I would be really interested to hear where that goes.
Oh, yeah. People cracking their teeth and grinding their teeth more. That's a good index.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my dentist again says like, are you wearing that guard when you sleep? And I was like, I'm not grinding my teeth at night. That's in meetings. Like, well, stop.
And then they tell you, yes, you are, because I see it.
Oh no, I'm not doing it in my sleep. I'm doing it in meetings. That's the only way I can.
I can't tell if Dre is just like pitying us, seeing Essies in Canada.
What am I doing?
Oh, I said I can't tell if you're just pitying all of us, people living in America, thinking about how we have to, pay for dental care and health care and stuff.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to pay for dental care. Dental care is not covered under our insurance. Like if I had a job, that might partially be covered, but no, I pay for dental procedures here.
Teeth are considered like decorative bones. They're not like really considered bones.
They're bones. Like they're
yeah,
bones
but
you can see.
because they're exposed, it's like a vanity thing. So, that's why, like, I don't know what kind of positions can you get away with having your teeth health insurance covered? Because I know a lot of sex workers and influencers can get their like bodily procedures covered, but when does that extend to teeth?
I mean, I have to look good for you guys on this Zoom call every week, right? And I feel like that's a business expense. And it's if I break a bone, if I was an athlete and I broke a bone, you think that would be covered, and I'm an imagination athlete, and my mouth is my tool.
Well, it doesn't impede your ability to speak, right? Despite the fact that, people who, smile more sort of are perceived as more friendly and, the way in which we communicate with our mouths, right? But for some reason, the teeth is not covered as part of that.
New stickers.
Yeah, we got sheep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Not bad. They're new. They're new.
They're new.
New.
You betcha.
To go along with the Android's Dream of Electric Sheep book, which does puzzle people. They're like, wait a minute. No, wait a minute.
Julian, where do you get your stickers done?
I just this is all just Sticker Mule, not the robot.
Okay.
This is Sticker Mule, not Sticker Robot.
Got it.
I don't think I think they're the same operation, just different branding, to be honest. The prices are always like pretty much the same. Yeah, unique. That's another good one. Yeah, so I missed half of the chatter in the mid journey. Jed, being a wonderful program manager, he's like, here's what you need to do today. It sends me a seem to be a list to check off. I got to finish all those damn descriptions.
Trying to do something like that.
Well, you totally can't hear you. You're talking underwater.
Oh no, really?
It's
no.
terrible. It's
You
terrible.
got lint.
Stop,
you got
stop.
lint in your microphone.
Yeah, stop doing it. Stop that.
I can tell you what I did. I can tell you what you missed out about what I did. I did that another InDesign
Stop,
data merge
Jed.
thing.
Just stop. Sorry,
I
go
did
ahead, Jed.
another InDesign data merge thing where I took all the data from the spreadsheet. I have to undo all the merged cells that Jed put together to make all the images inside of the spreadsheet. So I have to undo all that, and then I create the CSV. So I figured a few things out. Turns out if there's a paragraph break or if there's a line break in the CSV content, it actually breaks the entire file. So I got rid of
Sounds very
some of the
brittle.
line breaks. Yeah, it was a little bit. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's just how InDesign handles the data merge stuff.
Yeah,
And then
which is basically not well, and what you would expect from Adobe. Sounds
no,
like.
well, I mean, I kind of get it, because if you have a CSV file and you have a line break in there, I can see how it'll mess up the cell order. But so anyways, we've got it's looking good. The printer sent a template after I chatted with him on the phone. So he's got the template, he's got a color swatch for the gold ink. So everything seems to be working well. It's the bleeds, everything's fitting within the safe zones. The one last thing that I need to try to figure out is I'm getting like text gremlins when I export. So it's kind of like some special characters or something in the CSV file isn't translating in the InDesign document. So I'm getting that weird combination of weird text gremlins. Like sometimes when, if there's an accent on my E, for instance, sometimes it shows up as like an E with an I symbol and as something else. So I don't know if that's some kind of like, I don't know, Unicode formatting that needs to happen, but if anybody knows anything about that, let me know. Otherwise I'll be Googling that. And then we'll be in a position to have a full data set of sheep data to put into those cards.
And I'm behind. I think I don't know if Jed, we can talk later, but I don't know if I saw
that better.
Yeah, that's much better. Jesus.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I moved to the quiet room.
Yeah, the front seat of the Audi. So I was supposed to process something in my mind yesterday, and I also forgot that I was supposed to go over actually to your side of town to clean out clean out where we were staying. So I didn't really process a lot, but I'll do that today. And then was there a thing from Jim in terms of like pulling a trigger?
Okay, so as far as processing, I gave you a cliff note in our private.
I know what I need to process. I just have to sit down and process it. Sit in the corner.
Yeah. Sure. And then with Jim, it's sort of, I think the thing he's waiting on is how many box sets, I guess, would be, I think, what Jim was sort of asking, which is in those cliff notes and what we talked about yesterday. I think, and then Dre, I think, with Greg, as soon as we feel like the 18 are good, we could just pass that to him and then finish off the rest of the data set and then pass that along. Because I think they're just at the point of like, as soon as you give us the stuff, then we have it in order to like be as efficient as we can on our side.
Yeah, we just need to finish the first 18 on the data set, and then I'll do the cleaning up that's necessary, output the InDesign file, package the fonts, and send it over. And that should be everything he needs to run a test print.
Yeah. I can add a few of those missing things that I see now that I've seen it. I think I can get it. I think I can get at that in the next couple hours for you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna go dark for a bit because I'm traveling in a bit, and then I'll jam on it over the weekend.
Yeah, I'm sure that's fine. Because there's a holiday coming up here, right? 4th of July for us, so I'm assuming these guys will not do much on Monday or Tuesday. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was sort of the gist of what's going on with that.
Related, so Mindy from logistics, who you met, Jed, last Friday,
Oh, yeah.
is the pallet going, the 3 pallets going to South Carolina, they should go out today, and it's I think it's going to be like 5, 6, 7 days, was the option that I selected from the ones that she offered. And she's still running the number, not that it matters for Androids, but she's still running the numbers for the Berlin thing. Jed thank God Jed came with me to meet with Mindy from logistics, because like I almost sent stuff to the wrong place. Jed was like, wait a minute, I thought you wanted to send that stuff. And I was like, oh yeah. It wouldn't have been a disaster, but it would have been like, that's not at all what we talked about. Jed would have been like, wait a minute, that's not what we talked about.
Yeah. I guess we could have, well, it hasn't left yet. We could have corrected it, but it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny because I kind of walked in right at that time. You're like, put all these there. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't think that's what we're doing. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, that was big, I guess freight forwarder center. But, I got that picture of you somewhere.
Yeah, you sent it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want us to come back again. Oh, bye, Fiona.
They don't want you in that. We almost got run over by the forklift a few times.
A couple times, yeah, at least.
Yeah,
and also I bring a puppy. Like, what these guys? I was like, it'll be fun. Come on. And they're like, this is like kind of hard hat area or thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But also their forklift guy, he's like looking at his phone while he's driving the forklift. So I don't know.
I mean, he was jamming along. I mean, there's so much stuff he probably is trying to forklift in a day.
Yeah.
That he was all business there. He's just like, get out of the way.
Yeah.
He wasn't slowing. It wasn't like being in a Home Depot with like flaggers. This guy was
no
gonna run you over.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Yeah.
I
keep
can
missing
probably do logistics differently for the next stuff that comes in.
Yeah, probably.
Well, now that I know that I can, there's another freight operation that I'll try, rather than having the printer deal with it. Like, just go to. There's another guy I talked to who was like, just seemed a little bit more robust. He's like, yeah, well, just tell us where it needs to get to, where it is and where it needs to get to. Where I've been doing where it is, I've been talking to people where it is and say like, can you get it kind of close to this? And then I'll deal with the rest. What do I know?
Yeah, you can just have point A to B then rather than throw a half a A in there in the middle.
Yeah. Happy to admit
you won't have an opportunity to toss some postcards in there.
That's the other thing, but I think we can deal with that. I think we can probably send the postcards, just go to the post office. Get them where they need to go.
Yeah. But yeah, you probably don't need to visit that place again.
Yeah. The other fun thing is, Jed, you and I just started talking about, it's like we got this, like I registered androidsdream.ai. Oh, Dre, where do the QR codes point to? I mean, we still have time, but
I don't know. You gave me all those QR codes, and they're all different. So
that's what I said. That's what I said. You asked me where the QR codes go. I thought you generated them.
Okay, we need to revisit that.
Yeah, it's easy enough to swap out.
I'm trying to remember what I did, because I wrote a little Python thing to generate them. What was it consuming? I mean, I guess I could check. but so forget we can work that out. So we're not in trouble yet. But the my vague, we had a little bit of a conversation, not necessarily in real time, but my vague thing was like, if we could get them to point to an endpoint, Android's Dream.ai with maybe a simple query parameter, a hash query parameter, then we could have like a landing page for each card. Each card is a sheep, is an electric sheep, and we could have it so that the sheep shows up. It could be like one of those. It could be like Iron Man, kind of like, and the sheep just kind of like is there. And we can't make them spin because they're not 3D, but we can make them spin in some weird way. Maybe they spin and they just kind of get completely flat. Who knows? But then each sheep could have like a data page.
Yeah. All right. So I just scanned the code. So you each code goes to like some nonsense words that you put together.
Oh.
Yeah. So the idea was like, remember we were talking about like how seed phrases are like a combination of words.
Yeah.
So you just created like, 4-word, 5-word seed phrases.
That's right. Cause I was asking ChatGPT, give me a CSV list of farm related.
Yeah. So here's
nonsense words.
So here's a thought. Like, I'm glad that you got Android's Dream.ai, because I think that's a good URL. And I know that when you do that, when you do a URL, then you have that question mark equals like a number.
Yeah, the query parameter. Yeah.
Yeah, the query parameter. Yeah. So you could just do a query. You could just basically render a query parameter that relates to the ID of each sheep, so that if you have nothing set up, it's just going to go to the index file or whatever page that you're on, because the query parameter pretty much just gets ignored if there isn't something to run the query. But if you do have something to run the query, then you can do something like send them to that specific sheep's page. And now there's like kind of weird AI shit where you can put a 2-dimensional image and it'll extrapolate a 3-dimensional model from it, and it can be kind of weird and fun. I think you could probably do that, like run the sheep through that gizmo and then have it render out like cool deformed 3-dimensional 360-degree tabletop.
Yeah, the thing on top of that is, aside from like the mechanics, which are I think is like what is the world like? I think that's where the interesting, compelling, kind of engaging hook is. I feel like almost to a certain degree, like it would be beautiful. We'll get there someday. We're not. None of us is. I mean, I guess I'm doing this full time, but it's like, how would each one of the projects we do, if it was amenable to it, also was an entry point to something else, like another dimension, whatever it is. It could be like, oh, here's the board game, order the board game, or here's the world where you get to like outfit your sheep, and then when we start the game studio, there's also it's an entryway into that a kind of non-linear game experience, or you go to the page and there's a those in-browser terminal shows up, like enter your words, so that the experience is peculiar and engaging, and like, what are these guys doing? This is like, who are these people? Like, I want that level of like kind of mystery and wonder and curiosity about what we're doing and why. So we're not a game studio, but we are defenders of the creative consciousness, and this just happens to be an artifact that we think defends the creative consciousness, and it was fun to make.
Yeah, I like the each sheep has an OEM, right? It's got its own manufacturer.
Yeah, Buick, Honeywell, or like
yeah, like the Tyrell.
Novell.
Yeah, the idea that it like maybe each sheep goes to the page of that manufacturer, and the manufacturer itself, it's its own thing.
Headquarters.
And it's the headquarters. Like this, like all the Tyrell sheep go to the Tyrell manufacturing site, but the sheep are just one part of that site. There could be other things that bleed into the other work that we're doing.
This is like back to what back in the day when we were going to do when we were doing what was the crypto thing? Filthy Lucre.
Oh, Filthy Lucre. Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna do the headquarters, and I kept imagining, it's like, wouldn't it be great if you go to the page and the page is there, and then there's a little video segment about us, and like someone just walks on. It's like, welcome to Novell Buick.
Yeah.
We here at Novell Buick create, just do the whole, just have fun. Just do the whole rich kind of experiential, like WTF these guys. Who
What if
are
the
you?
sheep are like the Gillette model? Like the sheep are at cost, but how the companies actually make their money is like all the stuff that the sheep plug into.
Yes,
And so,
yeah. Like overshoes for their hooves.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
shearing equipment.
One of the neat things that comes out of the AR quick look files that people can make, and apple.com has, if like you go to apple.com for any product nowadays, and on an iPhone, then you can get it, and it sort of is the size. You can put the thing, whatever it is, be it like a Mac or an iPhone or a watch, in the space at the scale it is. That also will work whenever people get to spend $3.5 on Vision Pro, where the objects will be able to exist independently in space. So, so that if you have either a full-size sheep or just sort of a magazine of a sheep, you can't necessarily interact with it, but it's just an object that exists completely independent of the website. You can pull from the website and just put down in your space. And the web pages actually have the ability to generate those things as well. So if you want to have sort of a turntable of something or whatever, you don't need to have those pre-computed or pre-built. As long as you can build a web page that has the ability to generate these things, then they can become objects that you have the ability to sort of distribute around in your space, which is pretty exciting. It's a lot of fun to be able to do.
Coming back to the QR codes, I've also seen a really interesting project where somebody generates QR codes and then runs them through Stable Diffusion.
Yes, I've been playing with that. I
Yeah,
just
that's
posted in
really
the
nice.
algorithmic outputs about it. I wanted to see if Dre was playing with it at all. I still haven't been able to get QR code to render, but I think because I'm using a very long URL, which means it's a lot more sort of complicated, the shape it makes. So I have kind of on my docket later today to play with a simpler QR code to see if I can figure out the secret sauce, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, I know that that control net workflow is all open source, so it should be pretty simple to figure out.
There's a threshold though, you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
cause
like the
think
block
about how
size-
often QR codes like maybe don't work or don't quite work right.
Yeah.
So it's like
Well-
that with the level of complexity.
Yeah, the thing with QR codes is that there's a certain level of redundancy in a QR code that it's also using, because you can take a regular QR code and put a logo in the middle, for instance, and there's redundancy in the QR code that you can actually hide some of it and it'll still read. And I think it's partially using that to compensate for some of the visuals that are there. But there's a I think it's called creative.ai, like QRATIVE. And they basically took that concept and they're making an actual product. Like this is a very, very simple, easy, classic, take someone else's open source thing, create the commercial product that as a, an agency right now in like at Cannes, for instance, that just happened in France for the advertising festival. Like one of the biggest topics in AI was these QR codes. Like that's how low level, like that. I think that is like the least interesting thing in all of AI are those fucking QR codes.
But they're just so ugly, and they've been so ugly for so long that people are
And
just
that's
like, oh,
fine.
no more of this eyesore. I mean, I'm
don't-
waiting till we have NFC embedded in everything. I
Yeah,
saw
but
a fashion designer who has like NFC embedded in like patches that like
I
velcros
I
onto
used
his
to
sweatshirts. Like,
I used to hate on QR code. I gotta say, it's like I'm okay with it now. And I don't know what it is. Maybe just because it's like, oh, that's cool. I was on the freeway, stuck in traffic, and we kind of kept going by this guy who had a it said 6x6, but I think the count is wrong. But basically, like a truck with double axle in the back. This is the kind of truck I imagine Dre pulling up next to me in. And I was just like, what's going on? I was like a Raptor, and it was just kind of like hopped up, and he had QR code on it. And I was kind of driving by slowly enough to like I scanned the QR code. And then it kind of came back up, and I rolled down the window. I was like, man, that's clever. What's going on? Like, what's up with your truck? And it turned, he's like, it's for sale. So he uses a QR code. And I don't know, it's just something that was like, I know it's at one level it is ugly.
It's gimmicky. Like I get the gimmicky aspect that it's kind of people will scan it because it's there, but when the gimmick passes, like the idea is like QR codes are like if it's non-human readable, right? It's great for machines. QR codes are amazing tools for machines to gather a lot of information. Like you put 2,600, I think it's like 2,600 characters in a QR code. It's actually a lot you can put in there. So if you needed to pass on, like I think wallet addresses are a great way to do it. And I think there's something pretty about, you know, putting a wallet address in a QR code and making a visual illustration. I think this is kind of fun. But I don't want it to turn into like when all you need to do is write the URL, like mywebsite.com, and you're now obfuscating it behind a QR code of some waifu. Like I don't want to have to jump through that hoop to go to your website when all I have to do is go to your website.com, right?
You don't
So
want to judge
that's my
someone for
beef.
their
That's my beef.
taste in QR codes. Like if I saw someone with a waifu, I would be like, I don't know that I want to visit your website, bro. Like, versus like, oh, anonymous QR code could be anything, you know?
Yeah. Well, right now that seems to be the trend in it's either like,
Well,
it's
because
either,
just so many models are trained on anime. Because
yeah,
you know, it's
it's
ubiquitous.
every,
Like that's fucking why. It's the models. It's not the, you know. Plus, I think it's easier because it's line art based, right? So it speaks better to how QR codes are already done.
Mhm.
I mean, it'd be cool if this was the QR code or the code that you could scan.
Yeah, and that's just vision. That's just computer vision. That's just
Yeah.
object recognition.
Yeah.
Like you really don't need the QR code. Like it's probably 15 or 20 years ago, people showed that you could like uniquely identify images, and like the reason that they didn't take off was people couldn't tell. Like there was no box around it that was like, hey, this is a scannable thing.
Yeah.
So like that affordance being missing kind of screwed it up. But I still think there's like, yeah, like a way you could just put the boxes in the corner, but just recognize the image. But now you have to generalize the algorithms and yeah.
Well, the other thing with QR codes is that like they're so easily hackable. So I did a project about 10 years ago that I called QSERP. And QSERP was I printed a bunch of QR codes that went to websites that I created. And when I saw a QR code on an ad, I had 3 different sizes and I would stick my QR code on the ad. So if anybody scanned that QR code, they were scanning my QR code, but nobody could tell, nobody knew. And that's the problem with QR codes is that you don't know what you're scanning, and you could do, you know, you could do some like injection attack. You can like bring up like the worst website in the world. You could, you know, run a script. I don't know. There's all kinds of things you could do with a QR code that'll mess you up. I think it's a huge security issue, but you can have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, you could create a bunch of NFL QR and just stick it on every ad you see with the QR code.
I want to do a lost poster for the just as another world building kind of thing for the sheep thing, like a lost sheep, but put I don't know what we call them, Pepper the Milano, on the poster, but then have a QR code. Just put them up around Venice or downtown or something.
You know, it'd be an awesome QR code concept. Would be like a massive scale anamorphic illustration. It's like, you know the anamorphic illustrations, like when you're like you have to stand in the hallway at exactly the right thing. So that's an anamorphic, right? So you know, you only see the fully constructed proportioned illustration if you're standing in the right place. Now imagine if you did it in a huge city scale, right, where you had different pieces plastered in 3-dimensional space, different sizes. So you had to get on the rooftop of a building, standing at exactly the right place to see the actual QR code assemble that you could scan it from a distance.
Yeah.
Like that would be a crazy awesome project.
Yeah. I cut out earlier. I'm just circling back to what I heard I think Dre saying just about this the QR codes, you know, directing you to Android's Dream.ai at this point. And there's a lot of originally there's a lot of that those sort of collecting mechanics and information that deal with like things like the manufacturers, the OEM. It's all in place on those cards. It's what's populating most of the data, except for the description. But all information, has a rhyme and reason to it that you could decode in a way by browsing Android's Dream.ai. I mean, simply put, it's just sort of, ways of seeing all the information on the cards in one place. And then also, I think these things are generated, with Midjourney and digitally, and really there's no representation that we've come to yet besides a book and a card that shows them. So just the fact of seeing them digitally in a place that's more formal, whether it's even formalized further into a on the blockchain or something or not, or just being able to visually see what's going on by zooming in at a digital level of a high res thing, all that's possible, at a place like Androids.ai, in a sense. So yeah, I mean, that's some of the thinking I always kind of had around the idea of where's the digital component to all this besides a book and a card, because if you're looking specifically at the visuals of a sheet too, you don't really necessarily get it in the format of the book or the cards of what's there. So that affords a good opportunity just to be in a digital format. Anyways, that's my rant.
Okay, I'm gonna call it. Lovely to see you guys as always.
Good
I'm
seeing you,
glad you're
Camila.
back, David. Glad you got back safe.
Stay
Thanks. Really nice to see you all.
stay unhumid.
Oh, it's a vibe. I'm one with the sweat. The sweat is me.
New York summers. Check. ABC Solarpunk. Maybe at some point, if you guys get a chance, I can help to do a just like a project video, just like a 20 2-minute little. Here's where we're at. What's going on? That we can post around.
I think like when we have the text done, and we can put out something that's like a draft. It would be good to set up like a proper crit session where we can go through and kind of be like, what does the group think? I still really like the idea of secretly sneaking in Easter eggs to other projects that we're doing somewhere. And so like, it might be that like we spend a little bit of photoshopping time, like photoshopping in some of the sheep first, for instance. If there's a place like it's real small, you got to know it's there if you're looking for it. But if you know it's there, you're like, wait a minute. And I think like stuff like that could be really worth the effort.
Yeah. Forgot who I was talking to yesterday, because when you were saying that, I was like, I saw I could almost visualize. I haven't seen see like just like a little 2 or 3 sheep just kind of nibbling on something, but like wait, so I get that, and then my mind went because of this, because we started doing the this is like Pepperidge Farms Milano. I don't know why that logo's there, but Jed and I were just kind of going bonkers doing that, or like there's one sheep in the Androids book. Hold on, let me grab it. Oh, I have to say parenthetically, like Ken is now my print guy. Like the 3 books he did are I told him, I was like, you blew me away. Like I was prepared for like, it'll probably be okay. It'll be okay. I was like convincing myself. But then when the stuff came in, when he sent me the approval copies, I was like, fucking hell, man. Like across language barriers, it has to feel like a mass market paperback from the 80s, but feel premium. Like, what do you even do with that as a brief? And so he sends you paper samples and like book samples. You're kind of like, yeah. And then you get it and you're kind of like, this is exactly what I wanted on my shelf. You know, just the kind of thing you want to hold it. You know, you just want to hold it.
And
But I was
does it
saying
have
is-
that like paperback paper on the inside? Is it that
yeah,
like,
it's got, but not only that, it's got a paper switch to the color plates, as he used to
Yeah,
refer
yeah.
to them. And this feels like it's a it's a how do you describe it? It's like
a
you know,
thicker than newsprint type of?
yeah, it's like a little fiber kind of to it, and it's hard to see in, you know, in this thing, but it's absolutely what I wanted. So it's not as shitty as it would have been back in the day, but it feels like it doesn't feel like a modern paperback. I don't know. It's just in terms of in terms of the you know the touch read, this is like exactly it. I don't know. I don't know what else I would have done. I mean,
Nice.
the one thing someone said is like, well, if you want to make, you know, maybe you should like let them sit out in the sun so they yellow a little bit. It's like, I don't want to go that far. I don't really want it to be a, you know, shitty paperback that's been sitting in the rain. Although that might be kind of fun just for photography. You know, like put it in a cotton bag and run it through the dryer, and it just be like, oh, I found this thing. I don't know, this weird book. I like that idea. That sounds like a fun weekend project. So we started doing. Is that pulling focus? Yeah. These things just started happening. Like I was on like a saltines kick for a few weeks. I was just enjoying saltines, and so then all of a sudden premium came into it, and then there's one that's I can't tell you why. If someone said like, well, why did you do that? It's like, man, this is a beautiful thing about these projects. It's just like something hits you, and you're like, you go with the instinct of like, wow, that's cool. There's no rational analytic thing to it, but then people feel that same thing, like and it makes them chuckle. So like, I've also been into charms. Like I got a flat of those charms candies, and if I was shipping these, each one of those would go with a thing of charms. People are like, what the fuck? I don't get it. But so on the analytic side, so I'm taking this class, this online class with that Brooklyn Academy or whatever, and I've always wanted to be forced to read, you know, with a seminar with other people to talk to, like Mark Fisher, philosopher who couldn't deal and killed himself. But the book we read last week was this one. It's called The Weird and the Eerie. Right? And so there's actually a section. We were talking about Alien, talking about Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, so it's kind of like totally accidentally on point. And David Lynch, Kubrick's in here. Anyway, there was part of the discussion where the idea of like of something that you know from the world that you live in is introduced in a kind of unexpected way. Like there was that one that again, it's like worlds colliding. One of my favorite YouTubers, Cinema Tyler, did the breakdown. I think I CC'd you on it, Dre, of contemporary brands appearing in Alien, the film Alien. And there's something, you know, there's something weird and eerie about it. It's not Cronenberg eerie, but it's kind of like it's a little bit, I don't know what to say other than kind of wondrously mystifying. Like, what world are we in? And I think that's part of the effect that I enjoy generating, because then it makes things, it just draws you in a different kind of way into stuff. And that's why, like, you know, I just started going off the deep end with the sheep for the cards, and introducing, like, it's a you know, it's almost like some of my favorite nostalgic IT brands. I wouldn't say favorite, but just ones that was like Novell and Honeywell, Unisys, and it just brings this other character. If someone said like, what's going on with that, and they were putting me on the spot, and I couldn't just say like, I don't know, I just thought it just struck me as a weird idea. It'd be kind of cool. It'd be more like, well, I somehow, for some reason, I've been able to imagine these organizations doing something different, and I know they make, you know, whatever, missiles and encryption chips or whatever, but that's this world. But imagine if they had not done that and they did something else, and we can still do that. We can still you know, we're not stuck in the world that we're living in.
I think like there's something there where like sometimes I think you can take an angle of the things that we expend like as humanity are limited creative capital on. And currently we spend a great deal of creative capital on things like weapons and advertising and those sorts of things. And I think there's a subtle solar punk angle to this, which is like, what if we didn't? What if the people, instead of spending all that capital on how to make a stealthier bomber, we're trying to figure out how to make a more sustainable sheep? Because like sheep are terrible. Like you basically need humans to keep them alive. And if there are no humans, they become extinct because they can't even reproduce without our help. And so like, what if you, I think that's sort of like the second, third reading thing. Like, oh wait, Raytheon don't make stealth bombers. Raytheon make techno sheep. What is this?
Yeah. Is that true about sheep? I didn't know about that. They're helpless. I mean, I know they're helpless in a cute kind of way.
I think it really depends on the breed, but like,
I mean, you were just in Ireland. Were you scouting for us?
Yes. One of my friends like grew up on a sheep farm, and so my kids got to play with sheep, and they want to be sheep farmers, and he was like, no, like the number of things that can go wrong with sheep, their vaginas can prolapse. That's very common.
Jesus.
When they're giving birth, they often can't actually deliver by themselves, so the farmer has to reach in and like pull the use out of the uterus, and if they don't do that, the sheep will die. So like lambing season for sheep farmers is incredibly stressful. So like if they have a flock of 100, the number that they might actually have to intervene with is probably like 40%, where if they aren't there, the birthing won't occur. The impregnation, ridiculously easy. Like you basically have like probably like one male sheep can do 40 female sheep in like a couple of days, like 2 or 3. And so like that part's really easy, but the delivery part, depending on the breed, is not something that we have evolutionarily selected for. We've selected for
I've
things.
seen
Sure.
videos where sheep leave the flock, like go get lost in the forest somewhere, and it's like it's been gone for over a year, and the wool just accumulates to the point where it can barely move on its own. So I think they just have to be sheared, otherwise they'll just they'll just wildly grow into a giant fluff of uselessness.
Yeah, and currently I think they're worth more for the farming subsidies than they are for the sheep or the wool.
Oh no.
So there's lots of places where they're just pretty much let run wild up the mountain for a long time. Like we did some hikes and we saw some sheep like now in the summer with crazy long fleeces. Like they shouldn't have those. They should have been sheared off a couple of months ago. But you get the impression that no one's looking after them. That they're basically just there to generate subsidies.
Ugh. Okay, you could. So now this will be good material for these next 23 sheep that I need to write descriptions for.
Yeah, but like all sort of agricultural things that we have, from wheat to cows to sheep, aren't natural. Like sheep will die because they don't molt, and all of the other animals that we have, like we haven't, but it would have been possible for us to possibly find a genetic mutation that caused cats not to molt, and that would have been funny, but we didn't. It happened with sheep. And the same with wheat. Like wheat is not natural and would not survive because it doesn't break open in the way that means that the seed spreads properly. And so all of the things that we have as sort of our agricultural environment are unnatural and actually got wildly more so over the last century. So like cows yield like 4 times more milk, I think, than they did in 1900. And it probably means that they can't survive. I don't know what like a modern cow looks like in an environment where it's not weighted on hand and foot, not in a way that's, you know, luxurious for it, but in a way that helps it survive. It's just colossal capacity for milk generation. So yeah, like that sort of technological integration of all of these biological machines is something that that the perspective of the farm totally belies.
All right, this biological machine's got to go integrate with some nature.
Yeah,
Have
this
a good
biological
weekend.
machine has to integrate with some
weekend.
bacon and eggs.
Nice.
I need the coffee.
That's
Really nice
good.
catching up with you all.
Good seeing
All
you
right.
guys.
See you around.
See
Yeah.
ya. Bye.
Estimating the V-bar at 300 feet in about 5 minutes.
less than